It's good day to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Millsy, back with Hometown Commander, back for another episode of Millsy Brews, show where I brew my version 1.0 echoes of the commander in front of us on my quest out brew the Magic World. As always, the deck list is going to be down in the description for y'all if you want it, as well as I would greatly appreciate you liking, commenting, and subscribing if that's the thing you want to do. Today we're talking about a Temur deck that probably a lot of people don't remember this precon. With all the new artifact support in Thunder Junction and the Big Score, I feel like this could be the kind of deck that probably got a great facelift for it. Today we're talking about Gimbal Gremlin Prodigy, a 5-mana Temur Gremlin Artifice that says artifact creatures you control have trample. Beginning our end step, we make a 0/0 red Gremlin artifact creature token and put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of differently named artifact tokens you control. Gimbal may not be the highest power, quickest artifact commander in the world, but I think Gimbal has some things that make it fun. It has the trample element. You're making these artifact tokens. We have ways we can make the artifact tokens better. But we're just trying to get as many artifact tokens with different names as we can, make these gremlins, make them big, and get stuck in. So we're talking about how to make artifact tokens that can count towards Gimbal's effect. We're talking about how we can take advantage of them being artifacts and tokens and what have you. And then we'll talk about how there are ways that we can add in to get Gimbal's ability to get these tokens stuck in. Well, as far as making tokens go, what I really like about this deck is in a lot of ways this deck can become a kind of who's who of Temur artifact legends. You have things like Brutaclad, which has a deck in its own right, and that was up on the channel a few weeks ago. Brutaclad feels like it fits really well in here, making an artifact mirror every turn, and then allowing you to turn all your tokens into a copy of a token if you want to. This could be great with those gremlins, because the gremlins come in with counters, meaning if you make them a copy of a 4/4 golem, let's say, the counters are going to be on that 4/4 golem, which could be pretty darn great as well. Brutaclad will also give those tokens haste, even though Gimbal makes them at the end of the turn. Feldon of the Third Path makes artifacts that become a copy of a creature card in your graveyard, meaning they're going to have a different name. The cool part is because it goes off the beginning of your end step, you can choose to have Gimbal go up first, still be able to see that token's there, and make the gremlin, and then you get rid of that token. Peregrine Token's going to make us foods anytime we make any other token, and we can sack foods to draw a card, which is great, get a little bit of card draw. Roxanne from the Thunder Junction makes a lot of sense here, making those meteorites. The meteorites deal damage and have us tap for some mana, and then her ability is going to work well with a couple creatures we'll talk about in a second that allow our tokens to tap for mana. Saheeli can make a copy of another creature artifact we control, except that it's an artifact and show its other types, and again, sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. So again, we can pick another creature we control, make a copy of it, maybe get something out of its effect, and at the end of the turn, Gimbal will see it as a token and get us an extra counter. Svella can make those icy manalith tokens to get us extra mana. And then Freight, we can go digging, playing something from out of it for free, which is a pretty great ability once we get to enough mana to make it happen. Animation module, because we're putting +1/+1 counters on something, every turn we would be paying 1 to make a servo. And that's pretty much all we're going to use the animation module for, just get an army of servos if we want to do that. Nexus of Becoming, kind of interesting. Beginning combat on our turn, we draw a card. Then we can exile an artifact or creature from our hand. If we do, we make a 3/3 golem. That's a copy of it. That's cool because it'll have that. It should have that name, from my understanding, meaning that will factor into Gimbal's ability. Retrofitter Foundries will let us take our servos and make them into Thopters, and make the Thopters into constructs. Again, it's an interesting kind of card, but what I expected to do here is just make sure that if we make a servo, something like animation module, we can then turn it into a Thopter, and then turn that Thopter into a construct, and just make sure we have as many tokens as we can of varying names for the purposes of that ability. Simulacrum Synthesizer, whenever an artifact with a mana value 3 or greater comes in, we make a construct. We have some big artifact creatures and things like that, so we'll be able to make some constructs with that. Skycave Relic can come in with copies of itself that are artifact tokens, so that'll count for Gimbal's ability. And then Transmutation Font can tap to make us a blood, clue, or food. Then we can sack 3 artifact tokens with different names to search our library for an artifact and put it on the battlefield. This works really great with things like Saheeli and Felden that are making these copies, because then we can just use the copies at a transmutation font in response to them getting sacrificed, or we can't, sorry, because that says activated as sorcery. But either way, we could use some of those artifact tokens. Maybe if we have multiples of the same name, we just get them into transmutation font to go get something we do want. Worldmaker Helm will make us map tokens that we can use to grow our creatures, or try to get some lands off the top of our deck to make sure we're drawing into gas, and then we can use the bottom ability to make a copy of something. City of Death can create a copy of tokens we control, which is really great, just getting more and more copies of the things we really want, and maybe in growing our board that way. And then mechanized production, if we notice we're really making a lot of a certain token, we can just put mechanized production on and potentially use that as a way to finish the game off, because at the start of our upkeep, if we have 8 or more artifacts with the same name, we win the game. That's pretty great with all these other abilities that make tokens or copy tokens or whatever we may have. Well, getting into token payoffs, we have things like Ajax and Nev, where they'll just double them on tokens we control. I tried my best to not use the parallel lives of the world, because they're just very expensive. Ajax and Nevs, money-wise, Ajax and Nevs are a little bit cheaper and easier to use. Hedron Detonator is going to join a creature on the next side to just deal low damage to target opponent when an artifact comes in, and then we can sack 2 to kind of get that impulse draw. Jahiro will let all of our tokens tap for green. Urza will let them all tap for blue. Reckless Firewheel will do the damage to each opponent whenever an artifact comes in, and then Eye of Oblivion will draw us a card if we've created a token this turn, meaning we'll always get to draw a card every turn. Urza is also great because its ability is the one that's tapping the artifact, so even if an artifact comes in this turn, Urza can still tap and get a blue mana. Urza is a card in its own right that people love and hate. The goal here is use it for mana. Use these artifact tokens for mana to keep making sure that we're pushing forward and getting into our big cards to help us end the game. Well, getting into ending the game, we have things like Cyberdrive Awakener, which can turn all of our non-creature artifact tokens into artifacts into creatures, which can be a way to potentially end the game, especially since it gives them all flying. To me, this is kind of another way. Brutaclad's one of those, right? Turning them all into whatever we want. I think the ideal with Brutaclad is try to get a 0/0 construct like Urza makes, where it gets bigger for every artifact you control, turn all your tokens into that, and they're just going to get brutal, especially when we're putting counters on them and Gimball's giving them trample. Displaced Dinosaur is going to turn all artifacts that come in into 7/7 dinosaurs. This will also include all of our legendaries as well, but mainly every artifact that's coming in is going to turn into a 7/7 dinosaur. Sandstorm Salvager comes in and makes a golem, but we can tap it to put a counter on each creature we control and give them all trample. This is another way to add trample to our board in case Gimbal gets dealt with. I think it's going to be very easy for our opponents to figure out what Gimbal is trying to do, especially when we get a big board of tokens. Rise and Shine, very similar to Cyberdrive Awakening, turning all of our non-creature artifacts into artifacts we pay 6 mana to turn our whole board. Combined Chrysalis gives all of our creature tokens flying, potentially making them get up in the air and get around maybe some of the things our opponents have. And then Shared Animosity just feels like a slam dunk. Our creatures are already going to have trample because of Gimbal and some other abilities we have, meaning that the more than we have at once and they attack, they are going to get more for each other attacking creature that shares a creature type with it. Now, the bad part is if we go to animate like Clues, for example, Clue isn't a creature type, so it's not going to get buffed that way. But hey, all of those Gremlins and all those other creature tokens we're making are going to get a buff for attacking with each other, and that's the important part, especially when they have trample. But I said it on the channel before, and I'll say it again, no deck's ever complete, no deck's ever perfect, and this is just my version 1.0 shot at it, which means I probably missed things. And there were cards I wanted to keep in that I had to cut, and these were the 3, I think, to me, that made the most sense. Bootlegger Stash is a card I really like because it's going to make us treasure tokens for all of our lands. We can tap them to make treasures, get all these artifact payoffs for them coming in, and then sack them for mana. It can be really beneficial in a deck like this where we're going to have enough of that artifact support. Parallel Lives, there's going to be somebody who's asking me why I'm not playing Doubling Season, Parallel Lives, things like that. It's just the physical cost of the card is the reason I'm not playing it, but could make sense why you wouldn't want to pull another one in just to make sure you're getting more of those Gremlins and more of things like that. And then Aurora of Resistance. No, the Gremlins come in at end steps, so they're not going to be able to take advantage of that haste, but it is going to allow anything else we make during our turn to have haste and try to, take advantage of them coming in. We do have some other things that do give artifacts haste in the deck, but it's never a bad idea to make another piece there to allow them to give them haste and kind of keep the train going. But let's get into our play tests. Keep it a 2-lander with Arcane Signet. So we still need a couple more mana to get up to Gimbal, but we do have Sahelia, 4, Junkwinder, the Synthesizer, and Heroic Intervention. So great hand, a little bit of mix of everything. And turn 1, we pull in Nature's Lore, which is great. Get that command tower down and work our way towards that. Turn 2, I guess this is our decision tree. We can either Nature's Lore or Arcane Signet. I guess the question would be if I draw a land next turn and I Nature's Lore this turn, I have 4 mana. If I, same thing, we have 4 mana. What would our 4 mana play be? I guess Saheeli to make a couple Thopters. I guess I'll go with the Arcane Signet, and we'll just wait and see. If we don't draw land and we desperately need it, I guess we can always Nature's Lore next turn and just kind of seize what happens. But we don't draw a land, so I think we kind of have to bite the bullet and go with Nature's Lore here, just to make sure we have 4 mana, to start playing our things. Rashmi Ragavan's a really fun card in here. Of course, was the other commander in the deck. Whenever you cast your first spell during each of your turns, exile the top card of target opponent's library and create a treasure. You can cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost if it's a spell with mana value less than the number of artifacts we control, which is going to be great once we start really getting them down. But not enough to do anything this turn because we use the Nature's Lore, so we're going to go on. This turn, it's just brutal, no lands. We'll go with Saheeli, I guess, and we will see the +1 scries 1. And we can untap a. We can tap and untap artifact to draw a card. I kind of feel like it makes sense at the point we're at. We kind of got a little brutalized here on our man. So let's do it and scry 1. So Worldwaker's Helm, we'll dump that to the bottom. I think we really need a land at this point. And that'll be our turn here. We, of course, don't hit another land. So we'll go with Rashmi, try to get some treasures going. This is odd. I feel like this is just the hand where this is just the game where you miss lands. I would just go ahead and tick up Saheeli again. And we see Spire of Industry. Great. We can get that next turn. Next turn, Spire of Industry. We can cast Gimbal, and when we do, Rashmi will go off, exiling the top card of somebody's graveyard and getting us treasure. And then if, we can play that spell if its CMC is less than 2, which is fine. Now Gimbal will make us at least 1, but we didn't plus up Saheeli this turn, so we'll remove 2 and make those 2 servos. So at least that way we have 2 when it comes to its servos, right? Thopters, sorry, Thopters. At least then when we get to the end step, it's going to be a 2/2 Gremlin instead of a 1/1 because now we have 1 and 2 for the treasure. So I would just move to end step, make that Gremlin. It's going to come in with 2 counters on it. And now we're sitting pretty good. We can start getting things in our hand out and really starting to take advantage of the board we're at. We'll go another turn here. Brutaclad seems great. We're unfortunately just 1 mana off the Brutaclad, which is a little bit stinky, but it is what it is. We have 4 tokens, so we are at a 3 mana Junkwinder, which feels pretty good because we can start tapping down our opponent's things. So that'd be 3 of our mana, 2 mana left. I guess there's the argument to get the Idol of Oblivion down, but I kind of want to keep up that Heroic Intervention just to make sure we're being safe. And I guess I'll tick up Saheeli here to scry 1. It's a forest. Sweet. We'll put it on top. And Junkwinder, Rashmi would go off, making us another treasure. And now if it's less than 3, 4, 5, 6, we'd get to cast it. I imagine we probably would if it's a non-land at that point. But hey, tap down one more thing with... it would have been on Junkwinder, so we wouldn't have. But hey, move to combat, maybe attack if we want to with the Thopters in the air. Otherwise, we move to end step, make another Gremlin. This Gremlin will be a 1. This will be a 2/2 still. But hey, Junkwinder will let us tap something down and it doesn't untap, so it could potentially help set our, get our opponents in the wrong spot. But hey, we have the Heroic Intervention up now. I guess we could have, knowing we had the 2 treasures total, played the Idol of Oblivion and drawn the forest. But that's okay. We have to learn the lessons, and that's what all these playtests are for. We'll go one more turn, get in that forest. So 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. The first thing we cast is going to give us another treasure, so it'd be 9 mana. I like the idea of Brutaclad this turn, making us another treasure, and I have a gut feeling that whatever our opponent's, reveals is going to be less than 9, of course, so we'd be able to play it for free. But Brutaclad would give all of our tokens haste, and then beginning of combat, make a mirror. And I think I would make everything a copy of Thopters just to get them in the air. I wish we had more counters to throw around. But we're not there yet. I could make 2 more Thopters with Saheeli, which I feel like wouldn't be a bad idea, right? Since they have haste now because of Brutaclad. And the cool part about Junkwinder is I could tap a blocker down. That's what I was worried about. So I've got 3 mana left. I still like the idea of keeping up the Heroic Intervention. That might be one thing that's kind of stopping me, but that's okay. Move to combat, Brutaclad makes the mirror, which is going to tap something else down. But I would probably just make all of my tokens into a copy of Thopters and just take an attack here. Try to see if we can get in, try to get at somebody with the Junkwinder. We still have Heroic Intervention up, but that's okay. We would have been able to attack with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 1/1s in the air, and then 2 3/3s in the air. So that's a pretty good size attack squad. Keep the Heroic Intervention up just in case. And then this next turn, now we have 8 copies of a Thopter, so I'd probably just get that mechanized production down. And now we can just keep the Heroic Intervention to protect the board, and then we just win on the next turn, in case nobody can mess with it. Here, Spire of Industry and a Farseek with 1 more land seems like it ain't going to be too bad, so we'll kind of play towards that. Spire of Industry, of course, isn't going to tap for a color, and still we have an artifact, but that's fine. I'll just go ahead and Farseek here. Let's get our Triumph, no reason not to, and this is why we play a Triumph, is for things like Farseek or Nature's Lore. If you're playing a 3-color deck that has green and Triumphs in it. So there we go. Now we draw for turn 4. Vine Glimmer comes in tap, but that's okay. We have access to 3 mana. We have Academy Manufacturer. We have Prismari Command. Prismari Command could get us towards having access to more treasures. Could get us access to getting down, Urza and things like that. At the moment, I'm not making any foods anytime soon, so I think I probably would maybe on my opponent's turn. Well, I can't because I can't tap this for colors, can I? So I guess I'll just put the Manufacturer down, right? I mean, that's or I guess I could have gone with the Esoteric Duplicator. That's okay. We'll come back to our turn. 4 mana. I like the idea of getting Svella down just to tap that the next turn, or conversely, we could Urza, which might make more sense actually now that I think about it. This would get us the Construct, which is 2 at the moment. And now we can tap them for blue mana. 1, 2 blue mana. Doesn't really get us anything good, so I think we would just move it on to the next one. This turn, 4 mana, 6 with the 2 mana that we can tap things Urza for. I like the idea of Prismari Command. That would get us a food and a clue because of the Manufacturer. We should be able to do both Svella and that Prismari Command. I would draw 2 and pitch 2 and then make a treasure would be my thought. Because the treasure is also going to make us a clue and a food. Because of Academy Manufacturer, so now we've got lots of artifact tokens ready to go for Gimbal. But we drew 2, so we have to pitch 2. Probably Mirror Works. I guess the Duplicator. I like the Duplicator. I'm just not sure on it yet. I'm not sure where on this board state. Now we're in a great space because Gimbal is going to start making some big I don't think we play land this turn, so we would have had time to play that Bruviac as well. So this turn, 5 mana, 1 from the treasure, and then 6, 7 because of Urza, and then we can use Svella's ability if we want to. We should have enough to Gimbal and Idol of Oblivion there. So now Gimbal at the end of the turn is going to make us a token. And I would probably just see if we have an attack somewhere, but if not, move to the end step. Make the Gremlin. Gremlin comes in with 1, 2, 3, 4 counters on it. And then we should be able to tap Idol of Oblivion to draw with it. Cool. We're in great shape. We're getting towards where we want to be. Next turn, Seed of the Synod in for 6 mana, 7 with the treasure, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 with Urza's, or 12, sorry, with Urza's ability. So plenty of mana to use. Shimmer Dragon doesn't seem bad. Be able to come in and draw some cards. I'd love to make another Treasure Clue or Food so that we can get another set of all 3 of them off the that. Let's get the animation module down for 1. So that way at the end of the turn we can make a servo as well. I'd probably get that Shimmer Dragon down. And we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more we could tap. We could do Urza's ability. We could also do the Manolith. 1, 2. Because I'd probably tap the food, the clue, and the Cannon Manufacturer to make the Manolith here, just to give us another another thing that we can do. It comes in not tapped, so that's great. We would go to attack with the Gremlin if we can get it in somewhere. Of course, being a 4/4, we would move to M step. We would make another Gremlin. This is gonna be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because it does say Gremlin. Or Gremlin does count, so that's 6. We would pay the tap the Manolith for Urza's ability into the animation module to make a servo. And now all we're looking is some other way to kind of really take advantage of, we can always tap these with Shimmer Dragon to draw cards on our opponent's turns. Like, I think we're in half decent shape. We have the Resculpt that we could tap these 2 for. So what I would probably do is hold Resculpt up. My opponent has something I need to get rid of, tap these 2 to use Resculpt to get rid of something. Otherwise, I'd tap them to draw. And then, now we can just freely tap them to draw. We have Urza's ability to just start taking out things, or taking things out of our library and playing them. I like this spot. This is not a bad spot for this to get to. And again, our Gremlins should just keep being big. And big. Let me know, what do you think of Gimbal down in the comment section below. It's an intriguing deck. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not a top tier team or artifacts list by any means, but I think it's interesting. It has interesting pieces. I like the play line, and I'd love to hear what you guys think. But will catch you guys next time.